What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and I want to talk to you about an X-Men book that I recently finished reading. Uncanny X-Men, The End of the Greys. This collects issues 466 through 471 of Uncanny X-Men. And this is a strange book, because over the last couple of volumes, it has felt to me like Psylocke has kind of been taking center stage in this series. In the previous book, Captain Britain was more the main character. It was the House of M tie-in, but Psylocke and Rachel were both kind of the secondary X-Men characters in that book to Captain Britain. And then in the volume before that, Rachel was kind of sort of an antagonist, and Psylocke was sort of the X-Man who was being focused on in that book. And then in the previous two volumes, neither Rachel nor Psylocke were really heavily featured very much. So it felt to me like Psylocke was kind of becoming the main focus of this series. And in the next volume, Psylocke once again takes center stage. But in this volume, kind of out of nowhere, Rachel Grey kind of becomes the central focus of this series. And it sounds weird when you look at it on paper, but then when you think about it for a little bit, it makes quite a bit of sense, because Rachel Grey comes from a future where the Sentinels basically took over the world. They killed anyone who resisted, and then anyone who didn't resist, they put them into concentration camps, and the Sentinels were the guards of these concentration camps. And that's the future that Rachel Grey came from, and then came back to the past to try and prevent. And after House of M, basically all of the mutants in the world were sent to the Xavier Mansion, and then the government sent 5 Sentinels to say, hey, okay, you guys aren't prisoners, but we are going to treat you like prisoners, and anytime you want to leave, we're going to send a Sentinel with you, and we're probably not even going to allow you to leave anyway. And so it makes quite a bit of sense to have this these 6 issues be from the perspective of Rachel Grey when you think about it from that point of view, because it would make a lot of sense that Rachel would be very angry and frustrated that this future that she's been trying so hard to prevent, it looks like it's actually coming to pass. Now she's living in a cage being guarded by Sentinels, which is the future that she came from. And sure, the American government is saying, no, you guys really aren't prisoners, but when you read this book, they are prisoners. They're being treated very terribly by the Sentinels and the people controlling the Sentinels. So it makes a lot more sense that Rachel would become the central focus of these 6 issues when you think about it from that perspective. So that's something that I really liked about this storyline. Something I really did not like was the story itself. The story is that the Shi'ar Imperial Guard sends the Death Squad to come and entirely 100% eliminate the Grey family. That would be all of Jean Grey's family. Of course, Jean Grey is not alive anymore, and Rachel's family. They do this because apparently they are so scared of the Phoenix, they are afraid that the Phoenix is going to manifest once again in one of the Greys, and so they just want to completely 100% eliminate the Grey family to make sure that the Phoenix Force doesn't come back and kill them all. Here is why that is one of the stupidest things that I have ever read in a comic book. Number 1, Jean Grey became the Phoenix Force back in 1980. This book was in like 2005. Why did the Shi'ar Imperial Guard wait this long to decide that they needed to completely eliminate Jean Grey's family? Why not, as soon as the Dark Phoenix saga happens, send your Death Squad down to Earth and kill all of Jean Grey's family then? Why would you wait that long? That's a question that's not answered here. We only get that they're scared of the Grey family and they're scared of the Phoenix Force, so they do this to try and save the entire universe. Okay, I understand that, but we need to know why you waited this long to do something that, to be honest, isn't even going to work anyway. The Phoenix Force is a cosmic entity. It is not going to be limited or contained by its host. If you kill all of the Greys because you are afraid that the Phoenix Force is going to manifest in one of them, the Phoenix Force is just going to go and find another host. It could be anyone. It could be a Skrull. It could be a Kree. It could be any alien in the galaxy. It's not going to be limited by the Greys. And I find it very strange and silly that they think, oh, okay, if we kill this entire family, we're going to be safe from the Phoenix Force. That's not how it works, and what really bothers me about this is that Chris Claremont should know that. He is the guy who created the Phoenix Force, him and John Byrne, but, well, I guess technically him and Dave Cockrum, since Cockrum was the artist whenever he first introduced the Phoenix Force, but then him and John Byrne are the ones who did the Dark Phoenix saga. But the point is, Chris Claremont should know his stuff, and he should know that this is a really stupid story, and really, I feel like the whole reason that he did this story was because right after House of M, when editorial said, okay, we're going to have Sentinels guarding the X-Mansion, he realized that he needed to have Rachel Gray be the focus of these issues to kind of deal with what's going on with the Sentinels and stuff, and so he needed something else to be the main force of drama in this book. And so he decided, okay, the Shi'ar Imperial Guard is going to come completely out of nowhere, and they're going to kill the Gray family for some pretty stupid reasons that don't make any sense at all, and then that's going to be our source of conflict in this book. And yes, we need a source of conflict, but it would be fantastic if the source of conflict actually made sense. And here, it does not make sense for both of those reasons that I just listed earlier. At the end of this book, Rachel Gray is talking to Nightcrawler, and she says she is not her mother. She is not going to kill these guys who killed her entire family. She is going to find another way. I don't even know what that means, if that means that Rachel is going to be the better person and she's not going to seek these people out and commit murder. I'm not sure, because after Chris Claremont's run on Uncanny, Ed Brubaker took over the title, and his first story was called Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire, which I haven't read that story in years. I remember really enjoying it for the most part when I read it, but Rachel's big character thing in that whole story is that the reason she goes with Charles Xavier into outer space is because she wants revenge for what the Shi'ar Empire did to her family. It feels really hollow when she says she's not going to kill these people here, when less than half a year later, she goes into outer space to hunt down the Shi'ar. And of course, that's not something that Claremont could have controlled, because he wasn't the one who wrote Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire. But it still feels very hollow when you read this in retrospect, when you know what Rachel was up to in Rise and Fall. And maybe I'll be getting to Rise and Fall within 6 months or so. Maybe whenever I read that, I'll realize that it's not quite what I remember it being, because like I said, it's been a really long time since I read that story. So those are my thoughts on End of the Greys. Not great. There were some really good things potentially. I really liked the stuff with Rachel trying to deal with the fact that seemingly her future is coming to pass. I really liked all of that stuff, and I really liked her angst and her emotional trauma that she's going through right now. But the main A-plot of the Shi'ar eliminating her family is completely stupid. There's nothing redeemable about any of that. So those are my thoughts on End of the Greys. I hope that you guys like this video, and I hope that you guys will check out some of my other videos that I do throughout the rest of this week. And I will do some other videos next week as well. So I will see you guys in the future. Have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.